Hello, my beautiful friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to Behind the Magic, a podcast from Aradia's Closet, where we dive deeper into the components of magic. I'm Tanya, your host. I have all kinds of things planned for you: book reviews, how-tos, and interviews with some really amazing people. So if you want to gain a little more perspective on magic, tune in each week for more. Today, I am with my good friend Stephen. We're diving into his library 10 books at a time. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how you folks doing tonight?
We're going to jump right in with book number 1. This book is called Pure Magic, a complete course in spellcasting. This is from the author of the Elemental Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells. Ooh, Illis? This edition...
Judica Isles.
Judica Isles, thank you.
Right.
This edition first published in 2007 by Red Wheel Weiser LLC. So copyright by them. And it is registered in the Library of Congress. And here you go, Steve.
All right. This is by the author of the Elemental Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells, as we mentioned earlier. I was quite blown away by that book. That was great. I saw it in the bookstore, and I thought, oh, it's ridiculous, 5,000 spells. Come on. And got to going through it, and all the information was quite intriguing. I got into this author very, very heavily. This is one I bought after I had purchased the 5,000 Spells. Elizabeth Pepper, one of the founders of the Witch's Almanac, reviewed Judica Isles' book and declared it to be a modern spell book of great importance. She likened it to the classic 1950s cookbooks that were available in the day. It's just something you, as a household, you would have. It's a terrific book. Shows you how to make some of your very own conditionals, like Van oil, Black Cat oil, those kinds of things. Really terrific little book. I'm glad I have it.
Fantastic. I like that. I'm going to have to look at that one. The next book we have is The Origin of Satan.
All right, on to the heavy stuff.
Right. It didn't take long this time.
No, indeed.
Elaine Pagels, copyright 1995, and this is by Random House.
The Origin of Satan by Elaine Pagels. This is a terrific, very scholarly book on the origin and history of the Lord of Darkness.
Ooh.
The devil, Lucifer, Satan, all of it. Very scholarly work. Been a while since I read it. It's something that if you really want to understand how we as a species came to the conclusion that there were light and darkness was represented by a guy with goat feet and horns on him, it's pretty good book to have. But again, it's very scholarly, and I caution you on that point.
Fantastic. That's a hardcover book. The first one was trade paper. So here we have a little stitched bound book on magic and introduction to the high art. And this is one by our friend Aleister Crowley, the Master Therion. And this is put out by Level Press from San Francisco in 1974.
Yes, this is Level Press. They had some interesting reprints of Crowley material, and I purchased a few of these in the 1970s and really enjoyed them. This is 1974. I believe I have several other pamphlets and booklets that this publishing house did in the 1970s. So it's definitely it's very well put together. It's Aleister Crowley, so you have to have your wits about you when you read it. The Revival of Magic, Practical Magic, The Law of Liberty. He covers a lot of his philosophical stuff in here. The Book of the Law, Thou and That. I was reading passages randomly here. But yeah, it's a great little book. Level Press, 1974. An Introduction to the High Art.
And it's a cool looking book too.
Yes, all those 1970s reprints
are
really cool psychedelic covers.
With the
those are
storybook
really cool
print. I love the storybook print. The next book that we have is Chinese Alchemy, and it was put out in 1990 by Sterling Publishing. The author is J.C. Cooper. It says here, the philosophy, practices, and symbolism of the Taoist alchemical tradition.
I will not lie about this one. I never read this freaking book. Swear to God. It's something I got, there's a kind of dry period in my book collecting. I thought, oh, Chinese alchemy. Not that I care for modern Western alchemy or anything like that. But you know what? Maybe I'll get to reading it somewhere else. But it's the Taoist quest for immortality. Here's news for you folks. We already have immortality. You only die physically. You don't die spiritually. You're a piece of energy that will continue being aware after your body dies.
So we'll put that on your book reading list.
Well, maybe. Probably a while before I get to that one,
I'm sure. Okay, so next we have Aleister Crowley and the Practice of the Magical Diary. This is a revised and expanded edition. It includes John St. John and a Master of the Temple from the Equinox. So the foreword is by J. Daniel Gunther and edited by James Wasserman. So, and put out by Weiser Press, in 2006.
Yes, good old Uncle Al. The Practice of the Magical Diary. This is a good book on how to keep a magical diary, what to look for, what to pursue, anything interesting, any kind of magical operation. Be very honest. You write it down. You make sure that you're not trying to delude yourself. Oh, well, this happened because I cast that spell or anything like that. The practice of the magical diary is a practice in honesty and skepticism. I have several magical diaries that I've kept over the years, and I was very, very, very honest about them. And sometimes I had brilliant spiritual insights from the rituals, mostly high magic, that I did over the course of several years. That, to me, is true magic, the ability to alter one's consciousness in accordance with one's will. That is real magic. It's not anything else but that. It's that spiritual connection you make with the divine that's important. And if you're honest in your diary, eventually you're going to have occasions where everything comes together in a single unit. It's all explained. It's a flash. It's an epiphany, but it deserves to be written down. So do that. Always keep a magical diary.
Yes. I've been told that by many different kinds of thinkers.
Well, it's something that scientists do. If you think about it, you write your results down, your hypotheses, all that sort of thing. Start with that. You write it down, and as long as you're true to your will, you'll be good. You'll be fine.
One of the habits of highly successful people is making lists.
Yes, indeed. Writing stuff down. There's a lot of magic in writing stuff down. I own a book from Lucky Mojo that I like very much. It's called Paper in My Shoe. And that book is about writing down your specific goal, or money, romance, whatever, protection, and place it in your shoe, which connects you to the earth, which connects you to manifestation. Interesting stuff and well worth exploring.
Well, I'm going to do that tonight.
Sure.
Let's say
Why wouldn't you?
Right? Why would I not? The Psychedelic Experience, a manual based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Now, this one is by one of my gurus, Timothy Leary. Also, Timothy Leary, PhD, Ralph Metzner, PhD, and Richard Alpert, PhD. Oh my goodness, a.k.a. Ram Dass. The authors were engaged in a program of experiments with LSD and other psychedelic drugs at Harvard University until sensational national publicity unfairly concentrating on student interest in the drugs led to the suspension of the experiments. Since then, the authors have continued their work without academic auspices. So they weren't government funded anymore. I remember reading Timothy Leary's autobiography, Flashbacks, and he talks about being at Cambridge with Richard Alpert, and they were doing these government-funded experiments with psilocybin in the form of these little peach pills. So that goes on and on. We'll get to that when we get to that book in my collection. So this book's first printing was August 1964. This was put out several times. This is a 1964 copy.
All right. This is part of my University Books collection. University Books was a publisher that republished all the great classic occult books back in the day. The top prize, if you're a collector, is a hardback copy of Anton Szandor LaVey's Satanic Bible. It's very, very rare, very hard to find, and very expensive if you do. But I've got a large collection of university books. I started collecting those when I was a teenager. They were on basically discount shelves back in the 1970s.
I love it.
But they are fantastic books. They really are. And this is a collection of essays about the psychedelic experience. This is a terrific book. I'm glad I own a copy of it. It is the Psychedelic Experience, a manual based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead by Timothy Leary, Ralph Metzner, Richard Albert. You should own a copy of this. I don't know if it's still in print, but I swear you should have a copy of the Psychedelic Experience by Leary, Metzner, and Richard Albert.
And Timothy Leary.
And yes,
Timothy
least
Leary,
but not
who's
least.
number one.
Last but not least.
All right, next book. The Satanist, edited by Peter Haining.
Right, it's a collection of horror stories and that sort of thing.
That's why it's edited by him.
Yeah, edited by him. For August Delerth, he was a student of H.P. Lovecraft, and he wrote in the Lovecraft tradition, Cthulhu mythos stuff, that kind of thing. So, it's nice to have these collections around, you know. It really is. You know, it's a rainy day. Well, this is the perfect book. Perfect book to read on a rainy day.
So this book was first published in Great Britain by Neville Spearman Limited. So this edition is 1969.
Wow, 1969? That's in good shape for 1969, huh?
Yes, it is, without a dust jacket.
Yeah, this is one of those eBay finds. Yeah, this has got some H.P. Lovecraft stuff in it. The Festival of H.P. Lovecraft. And it's kind of a Lovecraft collection as far as I can tell. And if you also know, Stranger Things has a very Lovecraftian edge to it. Oh my gosh. The Satanists. I don't know about that description, but yeah, it's, oh my gosh, there's even a story by Aleister Crowley. The Initiation by Aleister Crowley. How about that?
Wow. Okay, our next book, Exorcism Through the Ages, edited by St. Elmo Newman, Jr., Ph.D. It's from the Christopher Newport College Philosophical Library, New York.
Sainthood comes with a Ph.D. these days?
I guess so. When he's doing something right in life.
Sure.
Registered in the Library of Congress. Another hardcover with a really great dust jacket.
Here's the thing. Most of you out there are familiar with the image of the Baphomet of Mendes that Eliphas Levi created in the late 1800s. So I have a bad habit of buying anything with the Baphomet of Mendes on it. And this is the upper part of the Baphomet of Mendes. It's about exorcism, which of course was very, very, very big in the 1970s due to the Exorcist film. Anyway, it's a discussion of exorcism through the ages, how it was applied, why it was applied, historical cases, that sort of thing. Really interesting reading of a very, very bizarre phenomenon.
Book number 9. This book is called Casting Spells, and it's by Sergei Hutton, translated from the French by A.F. Roberts. Put out by Barry and Jenkins. This was first put out in France in 1973 and then in Britain in 1978.
Right. So I have absolutely no idea what's in this book. I never read it. It was that thing that I was doing back in the 90s where I just had to have every occult book possible. And I'm not really sure what this is about. I'll be very honest with you. I'll probably never read this thing. But the important point to note is that I used to have a really big obsession for anything about the occult.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not even a spell book, to tell you the truth. It's just a lengthy discussion of people who cast spells and the classic method and that sort of thing.
All right, so book number 10. This is an interesting book. It's by Alan Kardec. It's the book on mediums, Guide for Mediums and Invocators, containing the special instructions of the spirits on the theory of all kinds of manifestations, the means of communicating with the invisible world, the development of mediumship, the difficulties and the dangers that are to be encountered in the practice of spiritism. It's experimental spiritism. Say that 5 times fast. First published in 1874. Wow, 1874. This printing 1994, so this is definitely one that's well worth keeping in circulation, I guess.
Yep, this is actually a perennial bestseller. It's been around since the late 1800s. Good stuff. It shows you how to be a medium, that sort of thing, the dangers of opening that door. Alan Kardec is a noted medium historically, had a excellent career in that. But this is about spiritualism. And to be very honest with you, I never thought it was a good idea to invoke the dead to ask them silly questions.
No.
Being dead does not actually make you any smarter. So I don't know why people would do that. But this book is a classic. if you're interested in occultism, spirit contact, anything like that, you should definitely read this. This guy takes himself very, very seriously. And my problem with mediums and spiritualism and that sort of thing is there's a lot of fraud in there. A lot of fraud. Yes,
Wow.
absolute fraud. You see it every day with these so-called psychics on TV, cold reading or a room or something like that. So I'm still very skeptical of that sort of thing.
Miss
But
Cleo.
this book, yes, Miss Cleo, right. But this book is a serious look at spirit contact. Mm-hmm. And I believe that it is, in fact, very possible to contact spirits from the other side.
Well,
and they can be helpful in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
However, a lot of what you see on TV and the media today is just abject fraud.
Imagine.
It hurts my feelings to see this because there's something very real in magic.
There is. Well,
very real in magic. You and I have experienced that, right?
Right. Yeah, I know.
There's no need to make stuff up.
Right.
Because it's for real.
It's for real.
So you don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Alan Kardec, the Book of Mediums. If you don't have it, I recommend that you pick up a copy and read it through. And it's the only book on spirit contact that you really need to own.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today, Stephen, and all of you out there. Tune in next week for more.